A man paid a high price for a dead body, then immediately called an emergency hotline, claiming it was his father and pleading with the doctors to save him. The doctors had no doubt and, believing him to be a devoted son, proceeded without question. They rushed the body into the operating room without even examining it. However, when the procedure began, they discovered it was just a corpse. Yet, even with this revelation, they didn't speak the truth. They continued with the surgery, as they assumed the man would keep paying to save his father. And so, a group of doctors pretended to work hard, giving the impression that they were trying to save someone. The chief surgeon approached the man, handing him a list, requesting that he quickly go downstairs to the pharmacy and buy a special medicine. The man glanced at the list and saw it contained a dozen different medications, none of which had their purpose clearly listed. Without hesitation, he pulled out his wallet and went to buy the medicines. When he returned to the hospital and inquired about the use of these drugs, the nurse was cold and unhelpful, telling him not to ask too many questions. She then turned and returned the drugs to the pharmacy, criticizing the pharmacist for providing too cheap a prescription. The nurse complained that the man was easily fooled and should have been given more expensive medications. Not long after he bought the medicine, the doctor came out again, claiming an additional $500,000 in surgical fees. Although he had already paid once, that had only been for the regular physician's fee. The doctor explained that his father's condition was too serious and required a famous medical expert for treatment. Reluctantly, the man paid the large sum, and soon after, an expert entered the operating room. Outside, the family waited anxiously. Inside, all the doctors and nurses gathered to chat. To avoid suspicion, they timed it so that every half hour, one of them would go out to check on the family. At that point, they were no longer acting as doctors, but more like experienced actors, repeatedly coaxing the man into paying more money. This continued until the man could no longer afford to pay. The chief surgeon finally emerged, stating that he had done all he could. Upon hearing the doctor's declaration of death, the man grew frantic and begged them to try again. Eventually, the doctor lost patience and said that he could not revive a dead person. It was then that the man pulled out a piece of paper, a death certificate. He revealed the truth. The body had been bought from a crematorium, and the person had been dead for several days. He then questioned the doctors about what they had been doing for the past 8 hours. He also demanded to know where the hundreds of thousands of dollars he had paid had gone. At that moment, it was the doctor's turn to feel anxious.